If you're an athlete, I'm sure you've had this experience. In practice, you're confident, you're loose, you're playing at such a high level. It's almost like any shot you take or any play that you make, it's done to perfection. But then come the game, you freeze up. I want you to know that this isn't a confidence issue, it's a pressure response issue. My name is Jake Lee, founder of Inner Edge Performance. I work with athletes from the youth level all the way through professional level, and I want you to understand that this is without a doubt one of the most common problems that I see. Today, I kind of want to dissect this problem with you. I also wanted to give you a couple tips that you could take away to hopefully allow yourself to get out of this and reach your peak performance. So, one fact is the issue. Athletes perform so freely in practice, right? And then come game time, when the results matter, they tighten up. Parents will just say, hey, they just need confidence, right? But I think something very important to understand is that confidence doesn't disappear under pressure. Access does. Now, what the heck am I talking about? Pressure, how I want you to think about it moving forward in this video, it's perceived threat. Okay, pressure equals perceived threat. If something is going to happen to me, if it's embarrassment, if it's failing to reach a goal, we're associating this with pressure. Okay, what is happening inevitably in your brain? It's shifting from a performance mode to protection mode. Okay, so your focus, what it is that you're concentrating on, it literally is shifting, right? And this is so wild, right? Your brain in performance mode, it's focused on a task, okay? And let's take basketball, for example. I played a lot of basketball in my life. I played basketball and football growing up. So I know a thing or two about some of the mechanics or the fundamentals, right? When your mind is in performance mode, right? And it's task oriented, it's process oriented. This is kind of what's going on, okay? Let's take a layup, for example, a very basic movement in basketball, a basic play, basic drill, something everyone's taught in the introductory level of basketball, right? Layup really consists of you dribbling the ball as close as you can to the hoop, and then you simply shooting the ball either off that little square on the backboard, right, to go in the hoop, or you might add some style points and get a little finger roll and just go straight to the net. Okay, so while my mind is in performance mode and I'm focused on the task, it's how do I perform this layup to the best of my ability? Okay, I need to continuously dribble, right? I don't want to get a traveling violation. So I'm going to keep dribbling as close as I can to the hoop and shoot the ball off the square of the backboard, and it's going to go in the hoop. Okay, that's you task-oriented thinking. That's you being in the process. Okay. We're talking about pressure as a perceived threat, right? And the only way that can be true is if your mind now is focused on the outcome. In no way, when I was explaining the layup, dribble close to the hoop, shoot off the backboard, go in the hoop, there was no sense of nerves. There was no sense of pressure. But now let's kind of change it into that protection mode, that outcome thinking that I was talking about. I have to make this layup. If I miss it, we lose. If I miss this layup, I'm going to be so embarrassed. My team's going to disown me. My family's going to disown me. I'm going to get judged by my coach. I'll never play again. I'm going to ride the bench. Notice how there's no instruction. Notice how there's no short-term process-oriented thinking to help you accomplish what it is that you want to do. Instead, we simply go into the freeze mode. The oh my goodness, what if go to the worst case scenario in our mind, right? And this pressure is now becoming a perceived threat. So in other words, we went from the present moment of what I have to do right now to the future consequences of if I don't execute at a high level, right? And again, this is the most common thing that I'll find with my athletes that I work with. Okay, a visual phrase, right, to kind of put this into a different kind of perspective for you is pressure hijacks attention. Oof. Pressure hijacks attention. Right now in the world, there are so many things trying to steal your attention, right? Any kind of social media, if it's TikTok, Instagram, that is them trying to hijack your attention because they know as long as they have your attention, they can make more money. Same thing goes for ads or commercials, right? Pressure hijacks attention. That's us allowing our mind to steal the attention that we need to become the best athlete we can be or to execute a drill, right, to the best of our ability. Our pressure is hijacking this attention, right? We cannot allow that to happen, right? Because we do have a certain level of control in this. Okay, I know for a fact you would not allow me to just come into your house and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to steal your PS5, all right? Thanks, later, bye. Whoa, we got problems. You'd be like, yo, no, there's no way, coach. I know you've given me a couple tips before, but no, that's my PS5, right? Then why do you allow yourself to rob yourself of your focus? It's just some food for thought. Let's think about that. Let's keep moving. Right? Because I can lay down the issue all day long, but what's it if we don't have a fix? Here's a couple tools you can take, keep in your back pocket, right? And go apply it the next time that this happens, okay? The first tool, I'm going to call it a control reset, okay? A control reset. I said that there's certain levels of control that we have, right? One of the things that we can do to activate this reset, ask yourself, at any moment, you can do it right now. I know you might not be at practice. You could be at home. You could be, who knows where you are, right? But ask yourself this one question. What is 100% controllable right now? Think about it. Okay. So a few examples of some answers. You're breathing, right? You can control whether or not you're breathing. And if it's like a short, shallow breath, or if it's like a slow, controlled, regular breath, right? What about your body language? Notice if you're slunched over right now, or if you're sitting or standing with a nice posture, chest out, okay, shoulders rolled back, maintain this eye contact. Pay attention to this, okay? Because that body language, the attitude in which you possess, it all amounts to the decisions that you're ultimately going to make. And we have to understand that the results of anything that it is that we're going to get is based off of the decisions that we're choosing to make. If we can align ourselves to be in a better headspace in order to make better decisions, then ultimately the outcomes or the results that we want, right, we're increasing the likelihood of those things occurring. And it's all based off of the controllable things that we're doing now. There's always going to be way more things that we can't control than what we can. Okay, and that's just a fact. It's almost like odds are stacked against us from the jump, right? But knowing that doesn't have to deter us from still continuing to progress. We just have to understand how to properly navigate. Okay, so using this control reset, identifying what it is that we can control right now, right? And then hone in on those things. Okay, it may not be the most sexy thing you've ever heard of taking a slow breath, right? But at the same time, if your mind is running 1,000,000 miles per hour, and your heart is nonstop beating, and you have those butterflies in your stomach, I would much rather do a slow, controlled breath and be in control, right? And allow those nerves and anxious thoughts to settle. Then just be like, oh yeah, no, whatever. I'm just gonna, I'll figure it out. I'll just thug it out. It's like, whoa, okay, good luck. Which leads me to the second tool, and this is a performance anchor, right? So we talked about the control reset, understanding what's in control, what you're in control of, how to bring your mind back to the present based off of identifying those things. Now we do a physical action that's tied to a sense of calmness. Okay, so if it's identifying my breathing's a little too quick, or I'm focused on the crowd rather than my task, right? I want to bring my attention back, and now we do a subtle action, right? For some of my athletes, it could be just pinching the wrist, just a subtle pinching sensation to kind of bring their mind back here, tied in with the physical cue, right? Maybe it's a verbal cue. You tell yourself next rep. Right? Maybe it's a deep breath and then you tell yourself next breath. It literally goes as simple as this. Obviously, you're going to inhale some air and then a long exhale. Next rep, let's go. What we just did is we just calmed down our entire nervous system. Okay? Now all these anxiety feelings, physically and mentally, they're settled down. My mind literally is focused on the next rep, right? And when your mind is in the present, you're able to do the things that you need to do to set yourself up for a better future. It doesn't work in reverse. Okay? But you have to understand these things that we're talking about. These are skills. These are mental skills. And just like any physical skill, it takes reps, right? We can sit here and talk for 10 minutes, but it's all for nothing if we don't go out there and execute and practice these things, right? So go ahead, take it out to your practice, take it out to a game, try these things out. Let me know what you think. Okay, if this sounds like you, or if you're a parent and this sounds like your athlete, I want you to understand that I do perform one-on-one mental performance sessions to help athletes overcome these things and teach them how to have their mind work for them rather than against them. This is not something that you have to continue to feel. This is not something that you have to continue to allow hinder your performance. When you master your mind, you master your ability to become successful. If you're ever interested, go and tap in with me over with Inner Edge Performance. Let's go be great, y'all.